News out of Japan. A population-based comparative mortality study that showed 4 times the risk of myocarditis post-vaccination compared to the population at large from 2017 to 2019. That is the subject of today's episode. And so, from Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and our episode is starting right now. So, yet another study, this time in Japan, that has raised concerns about mRNA COVID-19 vaccine safety signals. It was recently posted in the preprint server medRxiv and was co-authored by Rokuro Hama, director of the Japan Institute of Pharmacovigilance, a Japanese post-approval monitoring agency. They reported that the myocarditis mortality ratios, or MMRRs, and their confidence intervals after receiving the COVID-19 vaccines compared with the general reference population over the past 3 years, were significantly higher, not only among the young adult population, but also in the elderly, that's new. Now, the authors in Japan reported that myocarditis risk among COVID-19 vaccinated may be 4 times higher than the apparent myocarditis mortality ratios, and they declared that, quote, underreported post-vaccination deaths should also be considered. So, what precisely does this mean? Well, this real-world investigation compares the myocarditis mortality rate in the SARS-CoV-2 vaccinated with that in the general population in Japan. The study was based on the materials and the vital statistics disclosed by the Japanese government. Now, this study is still in preprint, involving over 99 million individuals aged 12 and up who had received a COVID-19 vaccine at least once or twice by February of 2022. And for reference, they used the population as those aged 10 and above from 2017 to 2019. So essentially what this means is they compared the myocarditis rates for the population at large prior to the pandemic versus those post-vaccination. Now, even at 4 times the rate, the reported numbers of myocarditis cases post-vaccination would still fall under the rare category. For example, at 4 times the rate, you're still looking at 0.4 per million. But every life matters, and this type of concern should absolutely be looked into. Especially, say, here in the States, where pharmaceutical companies are still enjoying the protections of the PrEP Act. People have a right to know, and frankly, if injured, deserve to be taken care of and compensated for their injury or personal losses. And that's not even addressing the ethics of vaccine mandates here in the States or abroad, which for the purposes of this video topic, we won't be delving into. Maybe later. In any case, this shouldn't come as a complete surprise. We've been covering this topic for some time now. We've chronicled the slow pace that the regulatory bodies took to even acknowledge this potential risk, both here on this YouTube channel and at trialsitenews.com. And it is now public knowledge. I mean, you have the FDA and the WHO. They acknowledge the risk, although, again, they take great care to explain that this potential risk post-vaccination is a rare event. An example of this would be the FDA, who has published on this matter. They wrote the following. They said that myocarditis and pericarditis post-marketing data demonstrate increased risks of myocarditis and pericarditis, particularly within 7 days following the second dose. The observed risk is higher among males under 40 years of age than among females and older males. The observed risk is highest in males 12 through 17 years of age. Although some cases required intensive care support, available data from the short-term follow-up suggests that most individuals have had resolution of symptoms with conservative management. Information is not yet available about potential long-term sequelae. The CDC has published considerations related to myocarditis and pericarditis after vaccination, including for vaccination of individuals with a history of myocarditis or pericarditis. And then again, you've got the Moderna fact sheet, where they talk about what are the risks of these vaccines. Among the list of potential risks, we find this little statement, quote, dizziness and weakness, myocarditis, inflammation of the heart muscle, and pericarditis, inflammation of the lining outside of the heart, have occurred in some people who have received Spikevax, or COVID-19 vaccine mRNA, or Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. And just as importantly, they go on to say that you should seek medical attention right away if you have any of the following symptoms after receiving the vaccine: chest pain, shortness of breath, and feelings of having a fast beating, fluttering, or pounding heart. In any case, the results of the study do raise concerns and should be looked into further. SARS-CoV-2 vaccination was associated with higher risk of myocarditis death, not only in young adults, but also in all age groups, including the elderly. Considering the recent events of the past few days, with the CDC's ACIP voting on adding the latest bivalent booster for children, who are the least likely age group to suffer negative side effects of COVID-19 in the first place, surely this should get looked at more closely. And I'm going to mention again, the study authors have emphasized that any underreporting should also be considered, and that their study suggests that the risk of myocarditis following SARS-CoV-2 vaccination may be more serious than what was previously reported. Now, this study does have numerous limitations, and they can be reviewed in the preprint under the title SARS-CoV-2 Vaccine and Increased Myocarditis and Mortality Risk, a population-based comparative study in Japan. And in the meantime, we here at Trial Site News will continue to dig into this story, and we'll keep you posted on what we find. And that, my friends, will bring our episode to a close once more. As always, thank you so much for joining me on the program today. From Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and I will see you all next time.